Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a great evening. Thank you for spending part of it with us. Welcome to the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface with the head coach of your Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay. I'm JB Long with my friend and colleague, DeMarco Farr. All right, Sean, we know the Rams are not there yet, but there seems to be a very clear indication from your side of this table that you believe they can get to where they're destined to go this season.
I do, because I see the work that they put in and day out, JB. I also, when you look at the tape and you see, hey, the margin for error is really small, but have we made some of these plays that maybe we're missing in some of these critical moments? Do we have the ability to play off of one another a little bit better than what we've done in some of those games where we've come up just a little bit short? And, you feel good about that. You feel good about the ability to let's consistently play better through 4 quarters, not just 1 quarter to 2 quarters, but also being able to play better in the second halves, playing off of one another when somebody gets a turnover or we get a scoring possession. And so there's just a lot of things to be able to learn from. It's a long season. We're 5 games into this. I think we've learned a lot in these first 5 games, and I like the consistency at which this group approaches things. And I think that there is still a lot of growth to be had, and I'm excited about pouring into them and continue to move forward with the resilient mindset and mentality that we want to display, for the fans and for this group that you care so much about.
I think I've heard the word momentum my entire life, and I've heard it defined and what it means in a football game, but I think yesterday was like the truest example of momentum. You seize it, you have it, and then they come right back and take it from you, and you got to fight your way out of that bag again.
Yeah, and I think you just mentioned it. They kind of took it, and they did. You see why they've had as much success as they have over the last couple seasons. Because in a moment, where we end up taking the lead, they end up making enough plays to give themselves an opportunity to say, are we going to kick a field goal, or are we going to try to punch it in as the half expires? And they made those plays, and then there were some opportunities in the second half where I thought Ahkello Witherspoon's turnover, I thought Duke Shelley's break up on the 3rd down in the red area to keep it to a 1-possession game where it's a 20-14 game late in the 4th quarter. And then there's some things where offensively that, I know that we're capable of executing at a higher level. We've got the guys that have done it at a high level before, and then it's just about being able to put all 11 on the same page at the right time. And there's been moments where we've done it, and then there's moments where, we can collectively do a better job of it. But it's players and coaches in this together, and I think everybody looks inward first to be able to figure out how can they do their role at the highest level, how can they make sure that they're looking at themselves first and foremost. And if we keep that approach, then I just do believe that good things are ahead, and I know there's a lot of growth to be had.
Offensively, specific to the second half that you reference, are there commonalities these last, say, 4 weeks since you came home from Seattle where the disconnect seems to be, for whatever reason, after the halftime break?
I think that for whatever reason, we haven't come out of that, and done some good things, but it's not the consistent same reasons why we're not. That's why football is the greatest team sport, and you know this, JB, as well as I do. I could point out a couple instances of some critical and key factors or plays, and there's certainly some decisions. You got to always look at yourself first and foremost and say, okay, are we getting the intent? Are we allowing our guys to be able to get into a rhythm and a flow that's reflective of what we're hunting up? And we got to be able to score points by moving the football. And so there were some instances where we had some chances to do that, and some other times where we didn't do a good enough job of putting it together at the right moment. So a long-winded answer of saying I don't think it's a consistent theme, but what you love about football is it's about continuing to figure out how do you play one snap at a time, how do you reset and refocus for the next snap, whether it was a good one or one that didn't go ideal on that previous snap.
One snap can change that whole narrative. Like totally. If you hit 2-2 down the seam, or if you get Cooper on one of those looks that I know you liked in the second half, we're not asking this question or having this conversation.
And that's what's crazy about it. But there's also some times where things might have worked out in our favor, and we were able to get off the grass on 3rd down when it didn't play out exactly like what we wanted, or we got away with something. And so, but that's what football is. That's where those margins are so small, and that's what you love, and that's what can also drive you crazy about it.
I heard Al Pacino, that movie, where we're fighting for those engines. He's right. It was out there
Any Given Sunday, you just referenced that?
I did. I kept hearing his voice in my head.
How about the Al Pacino there? What's the grade? Are we giving that? It wasn't your best effort. I've seen you do
5.
better.
Oh, I'm not doing it.
That impersonation was terrible.
Tell me, what did you think of pass protection from my eyes, and this is how I judge it, your quarterback didn't get murked.
Yeah.
He was playing a good game. So what did you think of pass pro?
I thought there were some really good instances. I thought some of our tougher downs, I thought they did a good job. So I was pleased with that. There was a couple times switching off some stunts and some movements we could have executed better, but there was a lot of examples of them doing it at a high level. I thought, some of the times that we did get edged or when we had some chip help, and we got to do a better job with overall execution and intent there. But I was pleased with those guys, and I think there were some instances, particularly in the second half, where the flow could have been more reflective of not necessarily having so much strain on those guys. But I was pleased with them, especially versus the caliber of rush that you were going against with the way those guys have done an excellent job through 4 weeks, and a lot of those guys had a bunch of success last year with the same personnel as well.
I know the 4th and 12 failed chip irked you a little bit,
Yeah.
not to isolate one instance there, but just for the purpose of coaching points, what should happen there? What you want to happen there between McClellan?
Well, yeah, you don't want to just ricochet him up the field. You want to be able to slow the up the field rush and the speed rush that, when Reddick ended up widening out his rush, you want to be able to funnel that thing, inside. You don't want to basically ricochet him into an up the field, position, and that's unfortunately what happened right there.
Yeah, it's one of those crazy thing. That was the rookie tackle that was in there, right?
It was.
Yeah,
It was,
you lost Havenstein. How's he doing, by the way?
He's good. He'll be okay. The medicals, they called in for him to take a break right there, and then by the time, he kind of gets cleared and checked out, you're just saying the smart thing is let's let Warren finish out the game.
And we all, I guess, we held our breath when they brought the cutter up for Bobby Brown. Is he going to be okay?
Yeah, golly, that was scary. Where Mailata ends up falling on his knee. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, he is going to be out for a little bit of time, probably 5 to 7 weeks with the MCL. But thank goodness it wasn't his ACL as well, which we initially potentially feared. He'll attack his rehab the right way, and it doesn't look like it's going to represent the conclusion of his season, which is a positive, because that was initially what I thought was going to possibly be the case yesterday.
Sean, when you sort the Rams roster by weight, especially on the defensive side of the football, there's a long gap between Bobby Brown and the next biggest interior defensive lineman. What do you do to fill that void?
We'll figure those are things that we'll immediately kind of start working on once we finish up here with you guys. Whether there's opportunities elsewhere, whether we feel like there's somebody in-house, those will be the things that we'll look in-house first. We'll see if we feel good about that, and if not, then we'll look elsewhere.
I know Coleman came back. He had a hand or a finger?
He did. He had he dislocated his finger.
And then what do you think about Joe Noteboom this week? A chance he plays, and where does he slot
I think
in
we'll see where he's at. Joe he's really battled through a bunch of different little just kind of nagging injuries. He's a tough competitor. I love Joe. He's played at guard. He's played at tackle, as you guys know. So I think the first thing is let's see where his health is at. Reggie said he's making good progress with his groin. Whether or not that means he'll be able to play this week is still to be determined.
Puka, straight up the sideline.
Yeah.
Go route. Big ball. Big boy time.
That was big.
Never saw that coming. I mean, we pointed that out. That's without motion. That's without trying to get him open. That's just him versus that guy. He wins.
Yeah, I thought Matthew made a great throw.
Yeah.
You're in a situation at the end where you're really saying, okay, got man coverage right there, and he did a great job of being able to win on his release. Matthew did a nice job of being able to keep the post safety in the middle of the field and got a ball up and down from 22 yards out, and I thought it was a great connection by those two.
And watching Cooper Kupp come back and work himself into the offense early, immediately. You can see the impact.
No, he did a good job. He had some critical catches on that first drive. Big 4th down conversion, big 3rd down and 4 conversion. Ended up getting him activated and involved a little bit in some of our empty stuff. And so it was good to be able to get his feet wet. And, it's always great to be able to add great players back.
Yesterday's opponent and kind of game circumstance may not have allowed for this, but I know we're both very optimistic about what Cooper Kupp brings back to your running game, the way that he can amplify some things, given what Puka's kind of done in the first month of the season. Do you see it playing out that way long term?
Absolutely.
Insert those two?
Yeah, I think the way the game unfolded, it was just it was a very strange game, and you credit them for being able to kind of shorten it. Where you talk about 8 possessions each side, and really, through 6 possessions, you're talking about you get yourself late into the 4th quarter, and just the flow and some of the different things that they were activating, and then we were in some 2-minute situations in our 3rd drive. So the answer is yes. I do feel good about both of those guys' ability to contribute to the run game and be able to have some things on the early downs that are more reflective of what we were hunting up and kind of what the intent is. And yesterday went a little bit differently than I don't want to say according to plan, but the circumstances of the game, altered our approach, and we felt like it was the best one, and I think it gave us a chance, all the way to the bitter end against a really good team.
Speaking of hunting, Jalen Hurts, good God, that's big game hunting. I mean, what can't that guy do? People were saying, like, wow, you guys don't have enough pass rush. I'm like, wait, that's not the first time he's done that.
Yeah.
That's the type of quarterback he is. He's a full-time problem for anybody's defense.
No, he is. I mean, and you look at the production that Swift had, and he had a couple good hits at the end of the game, but I thought we were able to be pretty successful in some of the early down stuff. And then, I want to say Jalen ended up with about 17 carries, but a lot of those were some off-schedule plays. And then they did have some quarterback design runs that they haven't been activating quite as much in the earlier parts of the season, but he's a great player. They do an excellent job of putting him in those spots. And then I think I saw Mailata said, in some instances, he ended up, being able to extend the plays. And I don't want to say bail out is the right word, but he ended up being able to win just, by making some plays when, we had some things defended well, and he was just able to break some tackles, extended, and kind of create on his own.
What a signing Nikello Witherspoon's been. I mean, these last 3 weeks seemingly getting the key play that kept you in or helped you win a game.
Yeah, he's done a great job. I've been really pleased with him. Super coachable. He's obviously got great ability. I even like the way that he started out with their first play of the game. They throw out a bubble screen. He ends up shedding the outside blocker, ends up making a good violent tackle. And so he's just continuing to up his game. Aubrey does such a great job with those guys, and Nikello's really shined over the last few weeks.
Toe drag swag.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
It was a huge play.
Yeah.
I mean, and those are the types of things that I talk about, and I referenced it a little bit earlier. When you get that turnover, when they've got a chance to go up 9 points right there, even if they just get a field goal, and for him to keep it to a 6-point game where a touchdown and an extra point allows you to be able to take the lead, those were big opportunities that gave us a chance, and we need to consistently make more plays like that, in all those phases. But he's been a real bright spot.
Here's what's funny about your corners. I know what DK sounds like. I can hear him. I don't think I've ever heard Witherspoon say a word.
Really?
Yeah. Super quiet guy, but goes about his business.
Super, he's very interested. He's got a great, inquisitiveness about him. He's, he's a great listener. He's really coachable. He's one of those guys that in these meeting settings, he is totally locked in. He asks unbelievable questions afterwards, which lets you know he doesn't miss a beat. But, sometimes those people that speak the least, end up taking in the most. And then when they do speak, there's some real value to what they're adding. And and he strikes me as one of those guys in my interactions I've had with him.
Did Duke Shelley's first defensive snaps as a Ram leave you wanting more?
Did a good job. He's a good competitor, JB. I really like him. I like his demeanor. I like his competitiveness and his spirit. Thought that red zone breakup that he had on the 3rd down and 8 or 7 or whatever it was a huge play. And I keep alluding to just keeping it to a one-possession game. That ended up forcing a field goal right there where it's a 17-14 game at that point, and that forced him to kick the field goal to go up 20-14. But I like the way that he plays this game. I like what he's done on special teams. I was pleased with Duke.
Kyron Williams? More possessions, more carries for a guy like
I think that's it's the way that the run game kind of unfolded, and then I thought there was some meat on the bone for us to be able to take advantage of, not exclusively to Kyron, but being able to finish on some of our combinations and some of the different things, whether it even be our receivers on the perimeter, and that's where we'll look to improve. And then I think there's an element of some more opportunities, like you mentioned, that I can certainly help with.
I just want to call something out that I think is indicative of good discipline and good coaching that I've been tracking: a lack of pre-snap penalties. I've got you for a false start on Zach Thomas at Cincinnati, who did not start that game, and 1 delay of game at Seattle.
Yeah.
That's it in terms of – and you've been on silent count 5 weeks in a row.
5 weeks in a row.
So you don't have to.
Crazy.
Is that not a testament to the work they put in?
It is. It's a real credit to Matthews' command, to Coleman Shelton's command, even when Brian Allen had to come in for a handful of snaps yesterday, and then the other 9 guys around them. So I have been pleased with that. That's been a real positive, and that's a good thing. We want to keep that rolling, and hopefully we won't be on our silent this week.
Well, that's kind of – I think this will be the week where Matthew gets to manipulate it a little bit more, and maybe we hear the turbo set ring through.
There you go.
Ring through SoFi. Does he get as much protection in the pocket as he deserves based on his reputation in this league?
I think you asking me the question, probably how I feel about it.
He was asking me that, so you can't answer that.
Yeah. I think I asked it out loud on the air a couple times.
Come on, he doesn't get the – come on. You're not supposed to be able to slam quarterbacks. No. Yeah, I said that. That's crazy. Okay, go ahead.
Or face mask.
Or face mask. Or grounding. What the heck? Wasn't Cooper Kupp standing right there? Oh, my bad. I'm sorry, Coach. Never mind.
Should we get to the Cardinals and let Coach get on his way? I was
going to bring up the punter, but I know how much he hates talking about that. But
no, he did a good job. I thought Ethan that one, that was like a great chip shot where it lands on the 2 and then bounces out. So Ethan, and I thought Alex Ward did a nice job with some of the situations that we had him in, protection wise. And those are 2 young guys that have continued to just get better and better. And those are positions that you certainly don't take for granted.
What a coincidental scheduling stretch with like the Philadelphia coaching tree going from the Colts to the Eagles to now the Cardinals in different phases, different parts of their
never
roster.
Thought of it that way.
But Jonathan Gannon taking over in the desert gives you a new look this week as you face your division rival.
Yeah, they've done a great job. We're just getting into the early parts of the film and just watching them from afar. The way that they've got those guys playing, it's going to be high-level ball, good designs on both sides and really on teams as well. And so I'm looking forward to diving into this tape, and it's going to be a great challenge. You see them have a big-time win against the Cowboys, and they've done an excellent job of being able to play people tight. Seems like Josh Dobbs is playing at a really high level for those guys. And so, again, like anything else, looking forward to diving into the preparation when we finish this up, and I'll have a better feel as the week progresses.
I was hoping we can play them on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Let's just get right back at it.
Yeah, I would like that too.
Fired up. Let's get it.
All right, we'll let him study the film, and we'll let you watch some more Al Pacino.
I'm not doing an Al Pacino.
We need better from you. Sean, thank you for your time on this Monday night. Good to be with you, DeMarco. Thanks, as always, for joining us for the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface.